Dover Castle is located in a town called Dover, which is at East Kent, and it's a main shipping or port town where ferries and other types of cargo ships leave from the UK to other parts of Europe. It serves as a main entry point, so the castle being situated on top of a hill does feel like, a welcome monument to people coming into the United Kingdom. Dover Castle's history dates back to the 1st century AD, where an initial lighthouse tower was constructed, among other things, because there were some Roman settlements close by. The main central point of the castle, which is the castle tower that we can see today, was built in the 11th century under the reign of King Henry II. So specifically between 1179 and 1188, where the king spent a major chunk of his annual budget on the castle. I think more than 65% of the king's annual budget to build the central tower, which is known today as King Henry II's Great Tower. It has obviously several history that are tied to the Hundred Years' War and the reign of the Plantagenets in England. So, for example, during 1216, Louis VIII of France was invited by English barons to invade England and take over, the English crown. So he did invade the castle, but he was unsuccessful in taking it over, and generally unsuccessful with the mission overall. During the English Civil War with King Charles I, the castle also was used for the crown and the royalist supporters, but was later taken over by the parliamentarians or the Republicans without a fight. But it was eventually captured. The castle was also then used during the Napoleonic Wars as a main, defense point for England in the case of a French invasion. It never happened, but it was organized in such a way that it could provide extra, defense for the sake of an invasion. It was also used during the Second World War as an air raid shelter, and also it was used as a military command center and a hospital. So you can actually go into the war tunnels to find the rooms that were being used for the strategic planning, during World War II, and also you can actually visit the hospital compartment under the tunnels as well. So these amenities were mostly added, during the early 20th century, during the time of World War II, and it was particularly important in the Dunkirk evacuation that was carried out during that war. There are many other details of history, but these are some of the important ones. The current castle is mainly owned and run by the English Heritage Trust. So this means that when we come to the ticketing membership, will always have free entry into the castle. So if you're a member of the English Heritage Trust, then you can normally visit the castle for free. So it currently serves as a major tourist attraction, and like a historical museum that actually takes you through several aspects of British war history. There is a building also dedicated to showing you, some of the detailed history of, various wars that Britain has been involved in, especially during its colonial days. days. It was set up by the museum was set up by Princess Diana, but currently is headed by Queen Anne of Denmark. The key point of the castle is the central tower, the Henry II Tower. It takes a one-way system when you visit, and so when you go in, it has a lot of Norman features, especially religious type Norman features. Then you go into the throne room, and the throne room does feature some qualities of a palace, but remember, this is a fortified castle, so it doesn't get the lavishness that you get with normal pleasure type palaces or castles. So it's a proper fort or a fortress, right? So it's not heavily decorated, but the throne room does feature some nice tapestry that tells you, or just gives you a summary version of the Bayeux Tapestry. The Bayeux Tapestry, which is in France, is a long tapestry that tells us the story of the Battle of Hastings, how William Duke of Normandy invaded England and defeated Harold Godwinson, who was the king at the time, to become the first Norman king of England. So you have a summary tapestry there. So remember that this tower is associated with King Henry II. Henry II is popular for the murder of Thomas Becket in Canterbury Cathedral, because he was the king at the time who kind of gave the order. So he mentioned that, he blurted out in frustration that, "Won't someone rid me of this priest?" Not because he wanted to kill him, but his knights took it to mean that he gave the order for Thomas Becket's execution. So they sailed to England from France, where the order was given, and carried out the execution right in the cathedral. And so King Henry came into England and later sought penance there. So you see a lot of depictions in the castle, especially in the King's Bedchamber, that links the king to Thomas Becket. You also see other minor tapestry, like the murder of St. Edmund, who was also an Anglo-Saxon king that was killed by Danish invaders especially when he refused to renounce his faith at the time. So he was canonized both in the Catholic and the Anglican Church. So from there, from the bedchamber, you can go behind the bedchamber and also behind the throne room to see other depictions like the crown jewels and the king's private chapel as well. Again, these are quite clustered places, but they actually are nice to see. And then you make your way up the stairs up to the top of the tower, and at the tower you can get a good view of Dover and its surrounding area, especially the White Cliffs of Dover, which is a chalk cliff that distinguishes between England and France. And it's a good tourist attraction in its own right, but you can always make out some other time to take a walk around there. You can also look at Dover Town Centre. It's quite a nice view from the top. You can see the ferries and ships, cruise ships coming in and going out, because again it is situated close to the port of Dover and serves as that. You can see how it serves as that main entry point of Dover. So once you're done with the top, then you can take the other part, because remember, this is a one-way system, and you come into the food storage rooms, or the pantry, and the dining. After the dining, you make your way to the visitors' bedchamber. Has some nice details, no major story, but some nice details. Then from there you make your way to the kitchen, and see how the castle kitchen would have functioned in the days, and then finally the bakery before exiting the central point of the tower. Now in the first outer wall that surrounds the tower is the war or the military museum, where you can actually find a lot of information on British war/colonial history, and yeah, just take a quick tour around and get some information there. The castle also then has a third wall, which is quite detailed, but most of it are not really accessible to the public because there are a lot of like sub buildings. But you can actually walk around the wall, get a lot of views of the places where several cannons were stationed in the castle. So there is a lot to benefit from just a walk around the premises, though it's likely going to take time. Another important part of the castle is St. Mary in Castro. St. Mary in Castro was consecrated just at the start of the 11th century, over 1,000 years old, and it was done in a Saxon style. So it's a Saxon style church, then mostly converted to Roman type. So you see a lot of Roman type mosaics in the church, the current version, which has been restored. It was mostly destroyed. That's the rooftop was mostly damaged during the English Civil War, but in the 19th century, it underwent a major renovation under the supervision of Sir Gilbert Scott. Remember Gilbert Scott with the Big Ben. So he also put in some effort into renovating the church and restoring it back, and it actually feels in very good condition and has the Saxon type feel that is not really found in much churches across England. So it's quite unique, and I think it's worth visiting. And just beside the church is the Lighthouse Tower, which was built by the Romans, who were the first settlers in that castle region. And the Lighthouse Tower is one of the best preserved Roman buildings in Britain, so it's worth seeing as well. There is a reception area when you arrive at the castle, just off the parking lot, and that's for the English heritage. So even if you're a member, you need to get your card scanned and get your wristband given to you, because you cannot go into the central part of the castle without the wristband. And that's where you also pay if you have to do a paid entry. Behind the building is the toilet facilities for both male, females, and accessible toilets. They're usually in good conditions, at least from my experience from the times that I've been there. There is also the restaurant building, so you can go to the restaurant in case you need some food, and they sell all sorts of hot and cold food in the restaurant. There's also the wartime tunnels, which is close to the restaurant area. The wartime tunnels is divided into three main sections. So one is the exhibition section, which is just mostly free type exhibition. Then the wartime tunnel itself, which is opened every 30 minutes. So it's usually strictly guided tours, and they take in groups. So every 30 minutes, a new batch goes in. And then there's also the wartime in underground hospital, which you can also visit as well. So those are the three main attractions there. So usually the last entry ends by 4 p.m., even though the castle mostly closes by 5 p.m. If you were in London, for example, and you needed to get to the castle, it's best to go through St. Pancras, take the high-speed train directly to Dover Priory. From Dover Priory, you can make your way to the town centre, it's quite close, and then take bus 81, which is going to Deal and Sandwich. You would have to drop at the Dover Castle bus stop. Because the buses around East Kent do not have the automatic announcement, please tell the driver that you intend to stop at Dover Castle so that he can actually alert you once he's there, for the stoppage, but it's important that you take the bus, because the alternative option, apart from a taxi of course, will be to climb the hill, which is actually a very steep climb. So what you want to do is to reduce climbing or walking up the hill as much as you can. So do take the bus if you've come by train. If you come by coach, there is an ample amount of coach parking lot, so it will take you directly to the castle entrance and then to the car park. There is also an ample amount of parking lot should you wish to come by car. You would need to get to the gate and wait behind the traffic light until it is green, as it's a one-way system for cars to drive into the castle, and then you'll be allowed to park in any of the parking lots, usually with no charge, especially if you are an English Heritage member. Please be aware that during peak seasons it can actually get crowded. Opening times are mostly 10 a.m. to 5 p.m, but it is best to check the English Heritage site for the opening times because they might fluctuate depending on the time of the year. Tickets for an adult is about £26. You usually get 15% off when you book online, so it's better to book online prior to a visit. For a child, it's £16. You could get a family concession of £68 for 2 adults and 3 children on the max, and £42 for 1 adult and 3 children on the max. Remember, if you're a member of English Heritage, then it is free. To be a member of English Heritage, you must have a UK address and also a UK debit or credit card to which your monthly subscription will be attached to, and other information such as your email address. But day tickets are day tickets, so it's worth keeping that in mind, and it doesn't grant you access to any other castle, unlike the English Heritage, where you do have access to all English Heritage sites, which includes many other castles, some in close proximity to Dover Castle. In summary, this is a castle that I will recommend a visit to, especially if you are into medieval and war history. Also because of its proximity to other castles that make up the Cinque Port, which I haven't talked too much about in this video but would go into in some other video. But it is in a prime location where you have other tourist attractions that make for a very good day trip. So very close to it again is the Doverside seafront, parks such as Kersney Abbey, and then closer castles like Deal Castle and Walmer Castle, which are all under the English Heritage and do make for a nice visit. So thank you very much for staying with me. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section and I will try to respond to them as soon as I can. And happy traveling.